Hey there, today I want to talk a little bit about the Saturn-Neptune almost conjunction. It's not quite exact until 2026, but we have for the next 2 weeks the closest approach it is going to make this year. And these are some potent energies. Saturn and Neptune coming together at the beginning of their cycle in a conjunction. So, and they are really opposite energies in many ways. Saturn is the energy of form and physicality, materiality, and restriction, limitation, whereas Neptune is the planet of transcendence, spirituality, things that go beyond the material, dealing with the realm of energy and vibrations, right? Things that are sort of in the intangible. So let's take a look at what that will be bringing for the next few days as it intensifies and with Saturday's retrograde station of Saturn. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe, Astro Perspective, really, for Sunday, July 13th. And so we have on Saturday, July 12th, Saturn stationing to go retrograde. That means it slows down, hovers, and eventually changes directions to go, in this case, retrograde. It has been moving direct. Direct and retrograde have to do with what direction planets are moving in the zodiac, which is, of course, because we are on planet Earth, which is also in the solar system, moving along with the other planets. So we don't see the planets just going one direction around as they orbit the sun. We see them sort of do this dance where they go back and forth because of our relationship to those moving bodies, which I won't go into the technicalities of right now. But the point is that planets go direct and then briefly they go retrograde and then they go direct again. We see this, of course, with Mercury retrograde, which pretty much everyone has heard about by now. And we do have Mercury going retrograde coming up here on July 17th at 15 degrees Leo, so 9:44 p.m. Pacific is what I'm seeing. So anyway, Mercury is going to go retrograde, but we're talking today about Saturn and Neptune. So what's happening with Saturn and Neptune is Neptune has a 144-year cycle. That's the number that's in my mind anyway, 145, something like that. I hope I'm right. Okay, anyway, that's Neptune. Long period of time, right? And then Saturn has a 29-year cycle. So we're talking about slow-moving bodies that have symbolic information for us. And so they move slowly through the signs of the zodiac, both slowly, but Saturn a little faster than Neptune. So with Saturn spending about 2.5 years in a sign, we've had Saturn in Pisces now for 2.5 years-ish. So Neptune spends much longer in a sign, and I believe that Neptune went into Pisces in 2011, 2012. So we had that shift of, Neptune having that different vibe that doesn't change very often. Anyway, this year, Neptune went into Aries, right, for the first time it's changed in many, many years. But Saturn changing at the same time, right? So this is significant. Both of these outer planets going into Aries within a couple of months. So Neptune went into Aries end of March, I want to say. Sorry, I don't have everything right in front of me, but and then Saturn followed going into Aries end of May, late May. So 2 months apart. Anyway, so they almost join up in Aries before Neptune goes retrograde. So Neptune went retrograde a few days ago. That was, okay, I've got this number here, July 4th. So Neptune went retrograde July 4th. Saturn goes retrograde July 12th, Pacific time at least. So they're both stationing retrograde within just a tiny fraction of a degree. Why are astrologers getting all excited about this? So they're opposite energies, right? So they're pushing each other's edges. So Neptune, right? The planet of transcendence, of dissolving, of flow and surrender and the great ocean of being is telling Saturn to let go, loosen up, you don't have to be so attached. Yes, you have some structure, but that structure can dissolve, it can reform, it can undo, it can redo. Like there's flow here. And so Neptune is reminding Saturn that it can change. So I think I used the example of salt. Salt is a physical thing. It has edges. You put it in water and now it's a liquid, right? It dissolves. So Neptune is the water that is dissolving the structure. So symbolically in our lives, what does that look like? It means that bigger picture can obscure reality. And so then we have reality confusion, we have delusions, we have fantasies, we have, spinning off, getting lost in the fog, getting confused. A lot of those vibes going on. We also have dissolving of old systems and structures, letting go of what has been, to have that bigger picture. And remember, Neptune is reminding us, look, things change. Just because you had something that made sense at one time and was always there for you every day, that could be gone. And that's the flow of life. So, but also life returns, right? So so what is that long term energy flow trying to do? And that is where we get to step in and engage with it. We get to say, okay, not about losing our way, right? That's a possibility, but if we choose not to lose our way, how do we stay anchored? How do we stay remembering who we are as that flow comes along and dissolves what we know? We have to connect to something bigger. We have to remember that we are not just our current iteration. We are we are more than our bodies. We have a spirit. We have a heart. We have a connection to love. That is what that bigger picture is, that is reminding us of what continues. Even when the structure dissolves, that bigger picture of whatever it is that you connect with, it continues. That spiritual picture continues. The meaning continues. So when we can anchor ourselves in that bigger truth, in what gives meaning to our lives, what is really a bigger picture way of orienting ourselves. So maybe we don't have control. And Saturn likes control, but when we let go of control, it also reminds us that in that bigger picture, there is something moving in that intangible realm. So connecting to that is what will get us through the challenges of our time. So what does that look like? It looks like dreams. What is your dream for the future? It looks like bigger picture principles. What matters, right? So the big things, we can't maybe control all the little things, all the things we don't like in the world, but we can anchor in and remember and share with others that there is a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture of caring, which is this moon cycle, is the Cancer moon cycle. So we're focusing on caring. There is a bigger picture of compassion. What does it mean to be compassionate? How do we find that place of connecting in a big, where we remember that we are all connected. We are ultimately, and maybe in some ways we are all really wanting the same thing. We just don't see the same path to getting there. So we can reconnect with what is it that really brings meaning to our lives? What is the why? What do we actually care about? And then maybe that can be a place of connection with people who don't agree with you. Maybe there is something we can agree about, that we care for children, or that we want people to have their needs met, or these are all caring sorts of themes, but right, so connecting with a bigger picture of what matters and why. And that is that bigger picture guiding principle that we can hold on to as things move forward in ways that we don't understand, or ways that aren't familiar or don't look like they did before. So when we can also reconnect to principles that have been articulated in the past. So, things like equality, freedom, justice, that are in many ways for the United States are written in to our DNA, right? It is our founding document that has this ideal. So what are the ideals? And what does it look like? What does it mean to return to those ideals, even as we might be having to let go of certain ways that they have manifested, or manifested imperfectly, or never fully manifested, but to reincarnate those ideals and that bigger picture of meaning and the big why. And that maybe that is common ground that some people might be able to agree on. Maybe we agree on freedom, but we don't agree on what it means, or what is the exact path to get there. So how can we begin that conversation to talk about those bigger picture principles? So that is what that, and so Saturn and Neptune coming together is asking us to kind of reinvent, or recreate, or create new forms, right? The Saturnian forms have to be created in new ways, but they can be done so in connection with that bigger picture Neptunian principle, that bigger picture of what matters and what transcends the structures, or the forms, or the things that we have known in our lives. So what's happening is that Saturn now stationing retrograde. So Saturn slows down and hovers now that Neptune has already gone retrograde, but it's still at that spot where it's moving so very slowly. And Neptune is past Saturn, right? Saturn hasn't caught up with Neptune yet. So they're both in that very, very, very slow moving phase of the station, the retrograde station, in addition to being very slow moving bodies, both of them. So they're kind of hovering in this almost conjunction, and it gets its closest within 13 minutes from, which is there's 60 minutes in a degree. So what is that? About a fifth of a degree. Anyway, fraction of a degree between the closest approach, without getting into the absolute minutia. I'm looking at is July 13th through July 20th, 21st, in there. And then they slowly start to move further apart, even though they're still super duper close. So they're going to be within a degree until September 15th. And all of this is in my handy reference guide for 2025 of planetary alignment. So if you're looking for dates and want to have that handy reference guide to see when the planets do what with Saturn and Neptune and all the outer planets, the link will be in the description for this video. So I'm going to grab it right now. So, okay, so within 1 degree from June 9th to September 15th of this year. So that is the time frame we were talking about where they're within 1 degree of a conjunction, which, is like the tightest part of the conjunction from June 9th to September 15th. With the very tightest moment being between July 13th and about the 20th, 21st, 22nd in there. So so why this is exciting right now is because this is the moment when they are just really kind of activating and feeling into what they're going to do as they, have that conjunction, because it will be exact next year in 2026. Saturn will actually overtake Neptune and pass by in an exact conjunction. But today, or this year, it just gets really, really close. So we're feeling that energy. That energy is heightened as we go through this phase of both of them just beginning to move retrograde and really still in that stationary spot where they're moving so very slowly. So we're feeling the energy of hard realities with Saturn, right? That awareness that we need to have to recognize what is a hard truth, something that I maybe haven't had to face or didn't want to face, and now I have to. So, sort of dealing with some uncomfortable truths with Saturn being hard reality. And so that feeling like when you are lost in your thoughts and you suddenly stub your toe and it's like, oh, okay, there is a physical world here that I need to be aware of, right? So thinking about what we're noticing that maybe we didn't want to notice or deal with, and having to. So that's part of it. It's that Saturn energy, as well as that Saturn energy can also sort of wake us up from the dream. So where we have gotten lost, where we have gone kind of down a crazy rabbit hole of thinking or some delusions or some story that we wanted to believe. It can kind of rein us in, pull us back, and help us realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't be looking at it that way. Maybe that's not really healthy for me or the best choice. So so it can rein in some of that Neptunian delusion and some of the illusions and confusion. It can help to like bring us back to reality. It can also dissolve old structures and ways of thinking and understanding. And it can also, though, plant that seed of that bigger picture of possibility. So Neptune really, I mean, it's transcendence. It kind of deals with the infinite, right? So we're really looking at bigger picture, spiritual principles and possibilities. So Saturn it creates form. So how do we create new forms from those bigger pictures of possibility, from that transcendent realm, from infinite possibility? What do we want? How can we imagine that dream? And imagining the dream in positive ways, not in delusional ways. And of course, there is that oh, if I just believe enough, it will happen, which is also not true, right? Saturn says, no, you have to work for it. This is reality. You have to do it. It doesn't just happen. It's not just all magic fluff. And so you have to work for it. You have to earn it. But if you do the work, you can get the reward of that dream, especially when that dream is grounded in reality. So not just possibility. I mean, possibility is good, but don't be afraid to dream the impossible also. The way that you make the impossible possible is by working for it and finding people who can get on board with believing in that with you and doing the tangible on the ground grounded work of making it happen. So finding what that is for you, how you can take the action steps, the tangible actions, and Aries is the energy of action. So both planets are in Aries until they go back into Pisces in their retrograde. But for now, they're still in Aries, bringing about action, new beginnings, innovation, new directions, all that good Aries beginning energy. So coming together with others and making the dream tangible by asking ourselves, what does it really look like? What are we really dealing with, right? Confronting reality honestly and engaging with it in ways where we can begin the process of imagining new ways of constructing things that support us in the future, whether that is in society or whether that's for your own life, both. And doing that on the ground physical material work of Saturn to bring in the bigger picture of the Neptunian dream, the story you want to tell, the mythology you want to be living. So, think about what inspires you from art, from mythology, from, is the stories that like have those stories of how something turned out in an unexpected way because people worked hard and were willing to believe in it even when they didn't know how it was going to turn out. Like those kinds of stories are really important right now, and having the mythology there to support creating something that hasn't existed before, because this is a seed time. We are planting seeds of new possibilities, and how we engage with our beliefs, our stories, our beliefs in ourselves, our self-trust, how we take on our day-to-day actions and our attitudes and all that matters. So not that we have to be perfect, but that we do have to check in with ourselves and go, okay, am I on track? Am I taking care of myself? And I always come back to self-care on this YouTube channel, because if we are not taking care of ourselves, we can't do anything else, right? That how we treat ourselves is how we treat our experience of being alive and how we want life to be. So it's an affirmation. How you take care of yourself is an affirmation of what you want in the world. So start with self-care, but then expand it from there. Take it into, how do I engage? How do I do something positive in my family, in my community, in my workplace? Start local, start small, start baby steps, and just keep going. So that's where we're at. That's what the Saturn-Neptune almost conjunction is bringing. And with Mercury going retrograde on the 17th, we also have that review process. So reflecting, reconsidering, and reviewing our thinking, our approaches, our strategies as part of the process of doing this work. So we are heading there as well. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Marina Orms, and you can book a reading with me at astrologyheals.com. My supplemental materials, like the handy reference guide for 2025 with the dates of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and all of the outer planet alignments for 2025 are in there, as well as planets changing sign. There's a lot going on in 2025. So check out the links In the description for this video, book a session with me at astrologyheals.com. Sign up for my member program. It's free, and you will get even more fascinating tidbits from me. So I will see you there, and thanks for being here, and thank you for subscribing. I appreciate your support, and all your likes and comments and shares all makes a difference. So thanks for being here, and I will see you next time. I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care.